Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. I'm EnFuego here, and I welcome you to my namesake program, EnFuegotainment, once again. Gracias very much for just steering here, chilling out for a bit. And if you're seeing this on a Thursday, that's right, the Throwback Thursday, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's kind of a cheesy thing, but I use it here on my personal YouTube channel to do what I call Retro Fuego reviews. This is where I either revisit a film that I saw as a kid that I don't really remember much of at all, or it's a first-time view, which is the case this time with 1977's Jabberwocky. That's right, Terry Gilliam, also starring Michael Palin, another member of the Python crew, along with Terry Gilliam. And yeah, this was a film that was the directorial solo debut for Gills, and love me some Terry Gilliam, whether it's Brazil or 12 Monkeys or Time Bandits, even, you know, the non-fantasy type stuff like The Fisher King. I mean, the dude is a damn good director. Only American Monty Python member, actually, but he's lived over there for decades at this point. But yeah, so solo directorial debut, and the reason I say that is because he had actually co-directed just 3 years before Monty Python and the Holy Grail, one of the funniest films ever, but he co-directed that one with Terry Jones, who actually went on to direct solo the other two Python films, which were The Meaning of Life and Life of Brian, which I don't like either of those anywhere near as much as Grail, but you know, that's neither here nor there. We're talking Jabberwocky, man, and it's one that I actually got through the mail from the Netflixes. Yeah, believe it or not, they still do through the mail from Netflix, and I've had it consistently for like 15 years now, something like that, maybe even longer. But yeah, I still do that. Everyone knows I'm from streaming now, but there's a lot of stuff that you can only VOD and actually pay like the $4 or $5, $6, whatever the hell it is, if you want to watch something in high definition. And I'm not about that. I spend like, I think, $7 or $8 a month, and I can still, a couple days, get a DVD and check it out. And yeah, I'm just a little bit more about that. Plus, I like physical media, I don't know. Plus, you typically get bonus features, which I had in the case of Jabberwocky, because this is a Criterion collection, and I think pretty much all the Terry Gilliam stuff has had its own Criterion collection. I mean, I know they had one for Time Bandits. I own the Brazil one, Baron von whatever. I think that also had a release as well. But yeah, man, I mean, this is very much of the distinctive style of Mr. Gilliam, and it's another medieval one, as you would probably expect. And the 1871 poem by Lewis Carroll was the initial inspiration, but it doesn't really play as much of a role as you might anticipate. Although there is a guy who is like chewed to pieces at the very beginning, there's another attack that happens about midway through, and then we do get a monster at the end. That's a pretty dope design, but everything in the middle is kind of the absurdistness that you would expect from Gilliam, and you know, just the stuff that he would go on to do even later. But this is where he was just kind of sharpening his teeth, getting more of a feel for things. And he does say in the supplemental material that was on this Criterion that I watched that, I mean, he was trying to go for more of an actual narrative as opposed to the 3 years before when they did Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and that was just more so a series of like vignette sketches and stuff like that that was very loosely held together with the story. This one, there's a little bit more going on at least. So the other Python dude, he's kind of playing it fairly serious as Dennis in this, and the character of Dennis is basically, he's grown up in a very small village. He's got the hots for this Tubbo, who she doesn't really give two craps about him. She's just always looking around the other way. He has his affection and affinity for her, so to speak, but he decides to leave the village when his father abruptly dies, and his father was kind of a butthole to him, not very kind and respectful, but, you know, stern and so on. So he heads to a actual city to a castle, and he's trying to look for work. And when he's there, he gets mixed up in all kinds of silliness. He sneaks his way into the castle walls, and then he's trying to find work, and he meets this guy who has cut off his foot just so people will feel sorry for him as a panhandler. And there's just a series of all kinds of wacky stuff that goes down with our character Dennis, and he kind of has this thing that starts out with the princess, and the king is trying to find somebody to actually go after this Jabberwocky that's been killing people out there. And I gotta say, as I mentioned, the effects of the monster are cool once we finally get it, but I mean, really, the gore is pretty good when these people's bodies are like completely consumed up to their neck and you see the skeletons and kind of the guts and stuff, so that's cool. But also the production value for a film that they made for only about $500,000, I think, it looks great. And that's because of the fact that they took such care with the costuming, some of which is relatively outrageous, as you would expect from Gilliam, especially after having seen what he did on Holy Grail a few years before. But yeah, the fact that they filmed pretty much the entirety of the movie, except for a few things that they did in London, but most of it was in these 2 different castles in Wales, and it looks great. It looks authentic, and that's because it is authentic, man. I mean, it is straight up legit in that regard, and it really just helps feel like you're actually back in those medieval times when the story takes place. And I mean, and the blood and the over-the-top silliness, it doesn't always hit. This is nowhere near as funny as something later like Time Bandits, or even, you know, Monty Python and the Holy Grail before it. But when the jokes do hit, they hit. Dennis gets involved with this squire guy who is trying to bang down this bar wench who is married, in fact, and yeah, so she is committing adultery like a little hosky, and so that's going down. And then there's also, as they're trying to find a champion to go after the Jabberwocky, they're having these jousts, and you've got the king, his princess, his daughter, and then the king advisor, and they are just, with each instance, getting splattered with blood, and by the end of it, they are just covered. It's gross, it's hilarious, so that's definitely another bit that hits. And as I mentioned, the foot thing is pretty funny with that panhandler guy. So really, I mean, while I didn't adore it, and I'm not necessarily sure that this is one that I would fork out the Criterion money for, I'm definitely glad that I finally got around to seeing it, because this was one of the few, with Gilliam being one of my favorite directors. I mean, I even enjoy Tideland for what it is. I have not seen his Don Quixote movie yet, unfortunately. I did find it on Sony Crackle, so I'll probably be doing a review of that here on the channel at some particular point. But yeah, this is... It's very fascinating to see this as he was working toward his distinctive visual style, and the attention to detail with the costuming and the choice for set location and all of that. It very, very much felt like a Terry Gilliam movie. It's of his signature style, and yet you could still tell he was kind of trying to figure out his voice specifically. But I mean, as I love Through the Looking Glass and what Alice found there, and you know, that delightful language of "'twas brillig, and the slithy toads did gyre and gimble in the wave." I still remember the first time that I saw that poem, and it was when it was done on The Muppets, actually. And so if you get the chance, YouTube that chisel, because it is a delight. Very, very funny. And this movie, while not as hilarious or as, I guess, esteemed and polished as some of the later Gilliam stuff, it was still very interesting to see it in the timeline of his developmental creative process. So there you have it, everybody. Definitely seek out Jabberwocky if you get the attempt. It's not streaming anywhere, but it is definitely VODable on everything from Vudu to Amazon Prime to wherever you get your video on demand stuff. So, grande gracias to all of you. I've been Jaime En Fuego once again. You can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube, spelled just like you see below. And yeah, this is my personal channel, because the big channel is The Horror Show, youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. That's where we have almost 33,000 subscribers for all the wackiness we do there, trailer reactions, reviews of films, books, comics, video game let's plays, unboxings, all kinds of dope stuff like that. I also do a weekly Stephen King show every Saturday that has been running for over 200 episodes and over 3 years. So that's the main channel, but a like, a share, and definitely a hitting of the subscribe button, where I am like 8 or 10 subscribers from crossing the 1,000 mark. It would definitely mean a lot, guys. It offers and opens up so many more creative tools for me here on YouTube, with monetization and all kinds of other rad stuff like this. So yeah, if you dug this review, there's all kinds of other stuff on here. Comedies, lots of art house like dramas and thrillers and things of that nature. And I nerd out with lots of Star Wars coverage too. So check that out, and gracias for checking this out. Once again, I've been Fuego. Y'all have been super coolio. And until the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, Cinemigos, constant readers and viewers alike, say thank you. But I'm hopeful that we share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, stay indoors and watch more movies. Peace.